Hi, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. Can you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your use case?
Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Guillermo Rull, and I work for Cordis Academy, which is a consulting company based in Barcelona, Spain. We work in the field of higher education, research, and innovation, and our clients are mostly universities and public administrations. And what we do is we help policymakers make decisions based on data, which is what is known as evidence-based policymaking.
Okay, that sounds really cool. So what is the profile of your average client? What kind of background do they have? Do they typically have some technical experience?
Mostly they are from a non-technical background, or at the very least, it is very rare to encounter some that have a computer science background. So this means that in general, they have problems with writing queries in formal languages, such as SQL or Spark. So accessing data, it's not easy for them.
Okay, so since they typically don't have a technical background, what kind of tools and technology have you been using up until now to carry out your research activities?
So mainly we use two kinds of tools. One is the traditional written in-depth analysis report, and that is where our consultants provide the interpretation of the data. And a second kind of tool that we use is the online monitoring tools. So these are essentially web applications that show a collection of predefined visualizations where the policymakers can see the current state of the institution, and that helps them understand which is the current state of affairs and properly inform future decisions.
Okay, I see. So what are some of the hurdles or difficulties that you experience in your day-to-day work?
So, well, what I said earlier about our clients actually also applies to most of our consultants. So also they don't have a computer science background, so they also find it difficult to access the data by themselves, which is something that would help them because they need to look at the data in order to interpret. So it would help them to actually be able to do that by themselves and not having to ask the IT people to get it for them.
Definitely, that makes a lot of sense. So if you could choose anything, what would be your ideal interface, tool, application? What would make your life easier?
It would be a tool that allows users to access data, but without needing to have knowledge on formal languages like SQL, Sparkle, etc., or on the technicalities of how a database works. And given that normally users ask the questions about the data that they need in natural language, so it makes sense to have a tool that follows that approach.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a really good idea. So thank you so much for your time and for answering all of my questions. And now I'd like to show you a demo of the systems that we've built within the INODE project that I think are going to be a huge help to you.
Great. Let's see it.
Welcome to the INODE Intelligent Data Exploration page that aims to allow users to interact with any kind of data source in a simple and effortless manner. In INODE, we consider two user scenarios. The first one involves a user who is familiar with the data, but not with structured query languages, looking for an answer to a particular query. For this purpose, we have developed Search by NL, where the user is able to formulate a query in natural language targeting a particular data source. As you can see, we have selected the European Research Project's relational data option. So let's say that we want to extract a list containing all institutions from France that have been involved in European research projects. Then one may type a simple query like this: show institutions in France. The system now tries to understand the query. Each one of the retrieved queries represents what the system understood that we may want to see. By looking to the interpretations, we conclude that the first two queries match better the one given to the system. We select the first one since it appears to retrieve a lot more information about French institutes. If the user is satisfied with the results and wishes to analyze them, we offer the option to download them in CSV format. Now consider the second user scenario, in which the user is assumed to be unfamiliar with both the data and structure query languages. For this purpose, we have developed a data exploration tool called Query Builder. Query Builder starts by suggesting tables to the user. By selecting one table, the rest of the table recommendations adjust to match the one selected. The system also suggests table attributes. Observe that as we modify our choices, the underlying built-in query and its interpretation change. Once we discover something interesting, we may proceed by executing the query. If we wish to continue exploring the data, we may ask for recommendations. Here, each recommended query corresponds to a cluster of projects that the user can look into to learn more about the data. For example, this query over here retrieves information about all projects that fall below this total cost threshold. This threshold was decided by the system so that for the projects in the cluster to represent a dense structure of the data space. Thank you for your time.
So hello again, Guillaume. I hope you enjoyed our demonstration. Let's start with the first set of tools, the first user scenario in the demo. We created this to help users that are familiar with the data but have no technical background. What are your thoughts about these tools?
Yes. I think that it is really nice to be able to talk to the database in such a natural way. And also this approach will certainly be of use to both our consultants and clients. So from what I saw, it works quite well with simple queries. So it would help at least in the first steps of the analysis when different checks are made, which could be expressed as these kind of queries. So I also like the fact that despite that you get multiple answers to the query. I understand that it's because of the ambiguity of the natural language. So these different answers are actually explained in natural language, which I think it will be really helpful to the users who are non-technical people in order to be able to differentiate them and understand what is that the system understood. And as for more complex queries, well, I also understand that, yeah, it will require a bit more work, so we can work on that together and training the system. But yeah, despite that, I think it's a really good effort and it will certainly help us.
Oh, thanks for that feedback. That's really helpful to know. So about the second set of tools, do you think that these tools will assist clients who experience problems during their exploration sessions?
Well, yeah, actually, but first of all, we've never actually been in a situation like this where our users are actually able to freely explore the database, because we've never actually had any tools that allow them to do so without having like technical knowledge. So, for example, our consultants, what they've done until now is, well, they actually have to ask the IT people for specific data or just go to the whatever data set website they are working with and try from the website to get the data that they need. But yeah, so the fact that we actually now have some intelligent tools that allow users dig in the database in a user-friendly manner. So that should benefit both our consultants and clients, but by allowing them to be more independent and active in the accessing of data. So I think that's really helpful. And also, it's worth mentioning that since Cordis is open data and it's available to anyone, so these tools won't just be beneficial to us at Cities, but actually to any data scientist who wants to work with the data set, get acquainted with it, and then proceed with their own analysis. So yeah, I think it's going to be really useful.
Okay, well, that's great to hear. And I'd like to thank you again for your time and say that we're looking forward to working together with you in the future and improving the system. So thanks again.
Thank you.